That's it. We're just open with laughter.
Hey, at least people know we're having fun with it.
So, guys, just a quick introduction. We unfortunately lost a large portion of the video feed for this week's podcast. But we're going to try our best to polish a turd, or more accurately, chuck a load of glitter on it and experiment with some of the visuals that we've actually already discussed.
Yeah. Luckily, audio's all there, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, the visual just went. I was using an app. I should have known better. So basically, if you want to record an hour and 26 minutes, but only actually have 8 minutes of it at the beginning, then this app is the one for you. So I'm thinking special moments like Christmas, weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, you know, where you'd want the whole thing, but actually only keep 8 minutes of it. This is the one. This is the one for you. Yeah? Is that it? Yeah, we're gonna... No? I want some sponsorship money. 8 minutes.
Let's get them to sponsor us. Let's get them to sponsor.
Can you imagine? Let me just get...
Let's write up a whole jingle and get them to sponsor us. Oh.
And then we do the first sort of equivalent 8 minutes at the beginning of it. And just drop everything else off. Yeah.
We've done 2 hours of promotion for you, but we're only going to release the 8 minutes that you've actually captured.
Yeah, you know, to keep with the spirit of the company, we thought that's what you'd want.
Oh, so
No?
whatever you see after this, whatever we've managed to throw together in the edit, you're welcome, and Merry Christmas.
Print it.
Hey! That was pretty much spot on.
Hopefully that was a big enough spike. Right.
Right, so this is the pod now. This time, we promise.
We're here. We've arrived. We're on. We're doing it. Hello.
The
How are you, Lewis?
The weird thing is, people in the future watching the edited version will be able to see us both a lot better than we can see each other at the moment. It's really throwing me off.
I mean, I don't know what is going on with this now. It's like just watching a photograph. I'm like looking at a photograph of you. I might as well just have a pinned photograph to the wall here. That's as good as it is.
With how choppy the frames are on my Discord at the moment for you, it's like you know when you get like a flip chart or paper and you flick it to make it move. It's a bit like that. No, sorry, I'm good. Other than that, yeah. To answer your
right,
question.
okay, yeah.
How are you?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I've had a really bad foot. That's like such an old man. Basically, I wore Converse for 3 days and it's wrecked the arch of my foot. Right. So I've been hobbling around for the last couple of days trying to sort it out. I'm telling people it's a sports injury. You know, play lots of sports.
When you say you were wearing them for 3 days, was that 72 hours straight, like a charity thing?
Yeah, because I feel like when you commit to a pair of Converse, you've really got to go in. You know, like full fat. None of this fanning around stuff. Just I'm in Converse. Yeah, it's wrecked. Poor me. It's wrecked my foot. Right, yeah, so apart from that, I mean, you meant how am I as in regards to what I've been watching and stuff like that? Oh, right. In a pod sort of way, right. Okay.
Yeah, go on. Tell me and tell everyone at home what you've been enjoying since we last caught up.
So, I had on my list for quite a while, then forgot about it, but I watched High Rise.
Yeah.
It's a Ben Wheatley film, and the trailer is very, very odd. It's got a very sort of British sort of feel to the... Not necessarily... I don't think it means British as in, if you're not British you won't understand it. It feels very gritty. No, I don't mean like that. I mean the sort of... The oddness to it felt very British. I was watching it thinking, this has got a feeling of, you know, of familiarity to it without being like, oh, I know what's going on in this story. And then it was on my list. It was something that I wanted to watch, and then life gets in the way sort of thing. And then it popped back up on Facebook. Someone must have watched it, or an account I was following, or something like that, said about how good of a film it was, and I was like, yes, got to get this watched. And it definitely delivers. It's weirder than I thought it was. The cast are brilliant in it. I mean, Luke Evans is in it. He's more of a supporting role in it, but he's fantastic. Like,
he's always good in stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so good. Loki, he's popped up in it. He's the lead. I refuse to call him by anything else. But yeah, he's really good as well. Like, I've had people ask me like, "Oh, tell me about it." Like, try and sell it to me almost.
Yeah.
And it's quite difficult because the plot points that I would talk about to discuss or to entice someone to watch the film don't do the feeling that you get watching that film the justice that it deserves. The film it's almost better than the things that happen in it in a way. But then if you tell too much, it'll give the whole thing away. Like, if you would see the craziness at the end and expect that from the beginning, you could almost be like watching two separate films if you were to watch the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. But I think that's the beauty of it, and at no point can I really go, oh, it was at that time marker where it all changed. It's a nice blend through it, and I think it's a real gem of a movie. So that's the big one that stood out for me since the last episode. Something that I really enjoyed. I did that really selfish thing of I had a day to myself. I sat down knowing I was going to watch it. I didn't want to be disturbed. I had a nice drink next to me, a couple of snacks. I thought, right, I'm really going to kind of go a little bit more old school, sort of the way I used to watch things or have watched things in the past, and not really had the ability to do it. And yeah, it's so worth it. That crazy, messed up, brilliant journey.
Really immersing yourself in it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you don't have to do that with everything you watch. I think sometimes it's actually quite nice to be able to stop something, go off and come back to it, and but I really loved everything about the experience that I managed to create for myself while watching this brilliant film. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Funnily enough, he's come up a few times recently in conversation, Mr. Ben Wheatley, and I also watched a film of his recently, and apart from some of the cast members, you could basically copy and paste what you said and put it into what I'm going to say at the same time, because I watched Sightseers, which is the horror comedy thriller general oddity film that he did, which was written by Alice Lowe, who's in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place and amongst other things. She's one of those actors who pops up in really good stuff but not a lot of stuff, and I get the impression that's on purpose, that she makes enough of a living writing and producing and popping up in the odd thing, but it just makes me want to see her in a lot more stuff. A film like this, it's so good. Obviously, you said yourself there with Ben Wheatley, he's one of those directors who's really good at building tension in a story, even when it's not obviously a tense situation. So a very mundane introduction to a world or a character or a story, or what appears to be mundane on the surface, he's very good at ratcheting up that weirdness and that little feeling at the back of your mind of like something's a bit off.
Yeah.
And that sums up Sightseers perfectly. You could technically say it's a romance. It's a love story, but yeah, in the guise of a weird British horror thriller comedy, Ben Wheatley joint, and I loved it.
Yeah. So I really do love that feeling that you get when you're sat there watching something and through an artistic decision. I mean, sometimes it could be by mistake, but when something's just slightly out of kilter, but you can't definitely go, oh, it's that, and you just sat there kind of going, oh, I feel a bit out of this. Like, what's going on here? But actually, you just know that there's something, ticking along in the background that's meant to make you feel like that. And I really like that feeling. It really helps break the fourth wall, and helps you either have the same emotion that's going on with the characters in the scene, or sometimes you feel like you know a little bit more than they do, and you're like, come on, man, something's not right here, and you can't see, or you can't feel what I can, but get out of the situation. But yeah, and he's really good at doing that.
I've never.
I feel like.
Sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. No, go for it.
I was going to say, I've never seen his debut. I think it's called Down Terrace. I've watched Kill List, which was his second one, and again, it has similar themes. It's a different story, different genre technically and everything, but it's that similar thing of, as like you say, the characters almost aren't aware that something's off. I think it's Hitchcock who spoke about sometimes you can show the audience the twist, and it almost adds to the tension of, you show the audience there's a bomb under the table, but the characters don't know, and there's a scene just playing out. And it adds it ramps it up. It's a similar sort of almost other way of doing that.
Like you, I've watched many behind the scenes of TV shows, films, read loads of stuff, studied it, and all stuff like that. But I remember I was watching a documentary about Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And there's a scene on a train where he wanted the audience to sort of feel a little bit uneasy, but not necessarily have anything uneasy happening in the scene. So he really messed around with background and foreground. So obviously, if you've got something in the foreground in focus, it's going to put anything in the background out of focus, and vice versa. So he wanted wine glasses that would have been in the foreground to be in focus with the characters who were in the background. And the way he did it is he had these wine glasses made super size and put them next to the actors. So they was acting with these massive wine glasses. Obviously they never picked them up or anything like that. These massive wine glasses. But because your mind is so used to going, I know how big a wine glass is, so like without even thinking about it, that wine glass must be in the foreground and the actors must be in the background. But without realising it, you're seeing both of them in focus, which makes you feel a little bit, this is a bit odd, but I can't see what's odd about it.
Yeah.
And it's little attention to detail like that you go, this is why these people do what they do, because they're great at it. Like, something subtle, something not subtle, something is that you won't even think about. It's like supersize the wine glasses. That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, Hitchcock's up there, isn't he? With the geniuses, with playing with force perspective and stuff like that. Love it.
Just beautiful stuff.
Speaking of geniuses,
okay. Maybe
announcements.
We're going with a different topic than I was going with.
News: the geniuses that are Disney and Marvel and Star Wars and basically what is now known as successful cinema. We've got a load of stuff to talk about from there. If we get onto it all, it's a different matter. But
oh mate, well we tried to make the pod around about an hour's long, but if we want to cover everything, strap in. We're here for a while. It got a bit ridiculous in the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there like
in all the best ways?
Good. Yeah. Oh yeah. In all the best ways. Like those photographs that I was sending to you, just screenshots of stuff, just like, look at this. Now this. What about this? It was. It's a lot of stuff in it. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who's listening to this, if you like the sort of stuff that we talk about, you're going to be aware of, 80% of the stuff that that we're talking about. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, small screen, big screen, Disney, with the Star Wars, small screen, big screen, and then the Disney Plus stuff, like the not traditional animation, but the animation that Disney's famous for. Again, big screen, small screen. It is really odd. It's just they're coming out guns blazing, aren't they? Really.
Yeah. So I think it's come around. Is it an investors conference or something like that, where
Yeah.
I think Kevin Feige and a few of the other, obviously for him with regards to Marvel, and a few of the other people in charge of Star Wars and Disney itself, basically put on a bit of it's quite a big event when you look at how many people are talking about it now, put on a conference for investors, shareholders, and obviously
The way you said that,
all of media.
I just imagine like, oh yeah, just get one sandwich platter.
Yeah.
We're putting it on. Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Share it. They could pass a bottle of pop around. It's right.
Oh, we can't do that. Social distancing.
Different rules in America, mate.
Oh yeah,
No, come
true.
Come on.
But yeah,
Come
so
on.
basically they've done this big event, and we've had the pleasure of getting stupidly excited about a lot of things, and some stuff actually
Yeah.
that I've only heard rumours of or didn't necessarily see coming. The first one that you sent me was the Fantastic Four logo, which is a really, I mean, again, it's nothing. It's just here's the number 4 with the Marvel.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Let's get it. It's finally
this
time.
is it. Like it's funny, isn't it? Because the Fantastic Four films have not been necessarily the best received films.
Yeah, to say the least.
I think. Yeah, but it's just a funny situation to be within, because the comic book community as a whole still seem to be like, no, come on, try again. Let's we can get this. They're the bloody first family of of comics. Like, we can do this, and they're very willing to give them another crack at the whip, like every time, which I think is great. Like, the love is still out there for the Fantastic Four. And there's such massive scope for them as characters. I have seen a few things online about how in the Spider-Man films there was like some sort of construction wall that had, it looked like it was a countdown or something to a certain piece of like a building being made, and it was like 1, 2, 3, and then like a question mark where the 4 would be. And a lot of people have been saying like, oh, is that to do with like the Fantastic Four? Or was it actually just part of Marvel's Phase 4 and all this sort of stuff? But I'm excited about it, and it makes me laugh thinking like, have the fans kind of forced this move on Marvel and Disney to make this film, with the fantasy casting of I'm gonna butcher his surname here, John. The Office.
Yeah, John Krasinski. Yeah, Jim
Krasinski. Thank you. Yeah. And then Emily Blunt in it as well. Because apparently you can't act as if someone's your wife. You've got to have your actual wife in there. I'm only joking. It would be absolutely brilliant.
That's
casting.
a power casting right there, isn't it? To be fair.
Oh yeah, like definitely. It's almost, from an acting point of view, it's almost like, oh, they're great as those. They'd be great as those characters, and the fact that they're married kind of, if anything, takes it away from it. It's like I believe that they're definitely they're brilliant actors. So pretending that they're in a relationship is not going to be difficult for them. It almost like takes away from how good of actors they are. That they are. But maybe I'm just thinking about it just way too much.
No, but I totally agree. That fantasy casting was a big thing, and it seemed to make sense. Krasinski's been linked with the MCU before. He was up for Captain America, and I believe it was down to him or Chris Evans as the final two. And I think some of me and you have spoke about this personally quite a few times. He's a very handsome fella, don't get me wrong, but the design of the helmet didn't necessarily accentuate the correct things on him, on his face and on his head.
He spoke about that on one of like the late night like American talk shows, that it got all the way to put in the helmet, the cowl, the face mask, whatever you want to call it, on. And in I think in the interview he jokes and he's like, well, I've not got this then, have I?
yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because he's gone a different route. He's become a filmmaker himself. He's beefed up. He's been in the Jack Ryan series. He was in 12 Hours in Benghazi, I think it was called. And he was in his directorial debut. why can't I think what it's called? The silent sci-fi movie.
Oh, Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, yeah. As I finished what I was saying, I remembered. So he's gone down that avenue, which there's an argument to be made that if it is him and his wife Emily Blunt, who's a great, solid filmmaker in her own right, an actor. If they are playing the first family of Marvel, get them involved in the overall creative process. They've got the acting chops, and they've also now got the ability to make a really solid film which looks very high concept with not a particularly high budget. Which, coming out of lockdown and everything else, Disney and Marvel aren't exempt from losing money in certain ways. Seems like a
they don't call it show business for nothing, do they?
And
yeah, I mean,
I
was gonna say,
go on.
I was gonna say, have you got any wants, hopes for the movie?
Yeah, that literally what I was gonna ask you. Yeah, for me, basically, they need to strike that perfect balance halfway between the Doctor Strange films and the Ant-Man films, where you've got science at the point where it's almost magical, where they're playing with dimensions, they're going to different worlds, they're coming across creatures. But then the Ant-Man side of it, where it's not just literally, I'm stepping through a portal and it's an alternate Earth. It's also, Reed Richards has discovered a way to get even smaller than the smallest known atomic size. And that ends up leading to this whole other dimension within, a dimension. And it can start to get weird and cosmic, but also quite epic and quite fun as well. I think the thing that the first two Fantastic Four films got right, with Michael Chiklis and Jessica Alba and that, the thing they got right was the sort of tongue-in-cheek aspects, and it was quite positive, and people liked the Fantastic Four. It's not the same as Spider-Man or X-Men, where it's like, the media are out to get them and everyone hates them. They're the Marvel first family, not in name only. Also, that the characters within that world respond to them that way. I'd want to see that in there, basically. So all the cosmic and craziness, but then also that really upbeat. This isn't, even if it's a world-ending storyline or threat that they face, I want to see the banter between them. They're a family. I want to see that fun and that joy. Sort of really enjoying these big action films. They don't always have to be super serious and gritty and dark like everything tries to be.
The first one, when Chris Evans was playing Johnny Storm, there's a line where I think it's the second film, the Silver Surfer one, where they see the Silver Surfer and Reed's like, go on, Johnny, and Johnny's like, but it's a new suit, because he knows he's gonna have to flame on and destroy the suit. Yeah. And I just think that really captured the character and the feel of the films. Like, it's a new suit, so it can't all be all dark. However, I do want a bit of darkness in it, like not the band. I don't think they'd be
a good fit.
I mean, I love the band, but I don't know whether or not I can't think of a set piece where it makes sense having the darkness in there. No. So maybe just don't cast them in anything. But I want a little bit of darkness in, because I think it's the pathos, the light and the shade that really has worked in the MCU. Yeah. But the director is John Watts, who's done the Spider-Man, the Sony Spider-Man Disney collaboration. So, he knows how to work with that, the tongue-in-cheek side of it, and he's already very well, established within the MCU. So, I think it's in good hands. Yeah, yeah. I think there's enough with a new IP. There's enough to stretch his legs, but he's obviously he's done the rounds within the universe, and probably actually like off screen, dealing with Disney and Sony and everything that goes along with that, he's probably got quite not responsible head on him. It sounds like he's not a child, he's not immature, but I think surfing those nasty waters potentially there. He's been through that. We talked about this so many times with the Fantastic Four. It's that this late on in the cinematic universe is very weird to have the Fantastic Four coming into it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like from a comic book sense, like, you know, they're very well established. They've been around for a very long time. But then in the cinematic universe, like, where are these guys? Why have we not heard from them? I think I always had an idea that, if there was going to be a Fantastic Four movie, I don't want an origins in the moment. A flashback to the origins would make sense, but almost for me it's like, well, you know what? Bring them from a different timeline.
Yeah.
They break through into this universe, and in their universe they're very well established, or have them, they existed in the universe that you know, the main Marvel universe within the movies, but they disappeared years ago.
Yeah.
And they've not been around for such a long time that people don't really talk about them anymore. And then for whatever reason, they maybe they've been hanging about in the quantum realm or whatever. And now suddenly they come back, and they've been trying, you know, with all their smarts and everything to get back into their reality. And then they finally do. And I think it could also tie in quite easily with the fact that they're still the age that they were before they disappeared.
Yeah.
So there's like a nice jump that they've like essentially not aged with whatever realm or whatever they've been up to, while they've been off, sort of thing. Because I really like Reed Richards. I like the comic book Reed Richards, and you know, the Council of Reeds, which is played upon in Rick and Morty. And to have him behind what's going on rather than in front of it and knowing what the situation is, or at least having a plan.
Yeah.
Or having him as like almost like a junior member of whatever team he's on would feel very weird for me. You know, because he is, you know, one of the smartest men in existence.
Yeah.
I was going to say on the planet, but in existence in all the dimensions and that, you know, he's the smartest man on Earth, sort of thing. But then again, maybe going the opposite way, where he is having to play catch up, would be quite interesting for the character. A different way for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited for Fantastic Four, and it's just that picture in it that just the four in lights. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. And I actually think, just before we move on as well, when you're saying about it's almost weird to have them come in at this point, that for the same reasons that you said, this is the way you'd envisioned it happening, and it ties and it kind of makes sense for their cosmic and parallel universe type stories. I think that's why it's actually an easier sell than, say, the X-Men, where although they do have a lot of time travel storylines and alternate universes and timeline changes and stuff, Fantastic Four, that's almost literally part of their thing that they look after, you know, is keeping reality and the world safe and secure and whatever. So it's almost easier than what I think about is when it comes time to fold in the X-Men, it might be harder now to do the same again. Oh, we were also in another world, blah blah, or you know, depending on how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a weird
especially because you know, there is a big demographic of the X-Men roster that are, you know, like just street level heroes. You know, they're not like, you know, reality warping. You know, I've forgotten the ranking systems in the Marvel world. When it comes to characters.
Well, yeah, you've got basically with the mutants, you've got like the Omega
mutants.
levels
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They're like the world changers.
So a lot of the X-Men characters aren't. Yeah, so a lot of the X-Men characters aren't like that, unless for whatever, like as their general power set, unless they get, you know, something bestowed upon them, like the Phoenix Force or something like that. They're just, you know, street level characters. So to then go, oh, we've been off fighting whatever in a parallel, like, you know, in a cosmic realm or whatever. It's like, whoa, but you wouldn't have a power set that would benefit that fight. So
yeah.
What are you doing? I'm looking at you, Jubilee. Fireworks out your hands.
I think.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to be able to shoot fireworks out my hands, but you know, when you're up against like Jean Grey or, you know, Franklin Richards, you know. You're a bit redundant.
I think as well with the X-Men, and again something probably treaded familiar ground for the podcast. There's an argument that the X-Men always work best within their own storylines and events, even the epic big world changer ones. There's always been a feeling that, I mean, I'm not speaking for every comic book fan out there, obviously, but a lot of the time, a lot of the X-Men stories or the events that are looked upon favourably when you look back, it's X-Men only or X-Men and characters away from Avengers, Fantastic Four and the obvious big groups. So that'll just put another little thing for Marvel to consider in. But the main thing, Fantastic Four, yeah, we're in. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, big time. I'm not gonna jump onto like the sort of the animated Disney ones. Yeah, I'm gonna stay within the sort of similar realms. But and actually, it didn't. We've talked about the or it's been talked about in the zeitgeist the Loki TV series that's coming.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that when I've not looked into it all that much. Apart from like the research for the episode, because I was like, I don't need to. It's gonna be great. Like I don't need to. I'm already in. Yeah. I can't be any more in. Like so, watching stuff's only gonna spoil it for myself. But having said that, for the research, I watched the trailer. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great trailer. I mean, I personally, outside of comic books and general geekery, I do geek out on real life or true crime. And there's a bit in the trailer where Loki's got his short hair, it's slicked to the side, he's wearing pair of Ray-Bans, or there's other brands available of those sort of glasses. He's on a plane, he jumps out the plane, he's got a bag full of money, the money's flying everywhere, and he's like, Thor, you better catch me, and the light comes down and pulls him away.
I think he says Heimdall, doesn't he? Heimdall, I hope you're watching.
Yeah, all right, yeah. But he's basically BD Cooper.
Yeah. Doing a heist.
DB Cooper.
Yeah.
BD?
DB Cooper, yeah.
That. Yeah, doing that. The one that they never caught him for, but they found one of the bags of money and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, he's jumping through time. Is he going to be like on the grassy knoll? And is he going to be the reason all these like sort of conspiracy theories pop up through history? And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. It's just a great idea. And the more I was watching it, I'm purposely not going to watch the trailer anymore because I feel like I'm going to start, if not ruin things based on actually what's there, I feel like I'm going to get ahead of myself and ruin it for myself with stuff that's not even going to be in the series.
I'm in a similar boat. I mean, Tom Hiddleston's in it, so I'm in. And
yeah, done.
So yeah, that's it. No more. No, but yeah, I was the same.
I think you'll find he goes by Loki now. I mean, he doesn't know this, but starting here on this episode, he's now going by Loki.
And Loki only. But yeah, no, I'm exactly the same
Loki
though.
And Loki.
With and other stuff we'll talk about, or the stuff we've not spoke about. Pretty much everything that came out in terms of teaser trailers, sizzle reels, promo art, and posters. I'm similar in that. Once I've seen the one teaser, there's a part of me that wants to avoid other big full-length trailers because sometimes it's quite easy to spot, I know what storyline that's from, or I know what character that's referencing, and you start to form in your mind what's going to happen. Now, to be fair, I've actually found the past couple years or more that sometimes that actually goes against that thinking where I've started thinking, I know what the character is and what the storyline is, so even if it's not the same, I've got an idea of where it's going to go, and to be fair, it doesn't a lot of the time with the MCU. They'll sort of pay homage to certain storylines and certain events, but obviously they don't necessarily do it beat for beat. So it's a bit of a weird one. The Loki one, less than the Black Widow trailer and less than Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was looking at little characters and little shots and thinking, I've got an idea where I think that might land, but it wasn't like I went, I know what storyline they're going to do, or I know what thing they're going to reference, apart from, like you say, it looks like maybe events back in time or events in space or conspiracy theories or that sort of stuff, which is a really cool way to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, my only concern is now that, you know, with characters who are no longer alive in the current sort of MCU universe, you like MCU universe. I've just said
MC Universe.
MC Universe. Oh, you're dealing with a character who's jumping through time and can get saved. You know who probably else might need saving? You know, someone falling off a cliff, maybe.
Yeah.
She might need she or he could be doing with. But I mean, people have gone through the trailer already, and I've seen stuff online, even without really trying to look for it all that much. You know, freeze frames of going, oh, is that Black Widow in the background sitting on a? It's like, you know, if you read any comic books, any time a character becomes bankable and popular, it's like, well, they're kind of semi-immortal now. They can always find ways to bring characters back. Which for me was the biggest charm of something like Game of Thrones originally in the first few seasons, where it was like, oh, they're dead. That's it now. You're gone.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone's thinking, no, Black Widow, she's definitely dead. She's gone. It's like, it's comic books, mate.
Yeah.
You know, if they decide that she's coming back, decide anyone's coming back, they'll find a way.
I think
Science,
I think as well with a character like Black Widow, you could bring her back, which, although you could argue cheapens a little bit her death or her sacrifice in the big events in MCU, it also wouldn't be on the same level as, for example, like an Iron Man, where it's like that death almost meant the big parts of the stories, for example, and that sort of stuff. So there's certain characters that if you kill them off or if you do something with them, to then go back on it, you'd be a bit like, oh, that kind of really takes away the main story. But someone like a Black Widow, there's almost an argument to be, well, do you know what? If they bring her back, it's not going to ruin everything that surrounds the story. She's at a popular enough level where I'd quite like to see her back in more things. But if it only turns out to be prequels or spin-offs, fine. But if she gets brought back into the main, you know, cinematic universe, then equally, well, great, because I'd like to see more of her. She's a great character.
Yeah, great character, brilliant actress who plays her. So, and I think when you've got like all this amazing science and technology and magic, it's like, well, there's pick one of them. There's multiple ways you could bring this character back if you needed to, like,
exactly.
And that's without even looking at the stuff that we've seen, like the Loki's definitely jumping through time, like that. You know, so is it that much of a stretch, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anything you want to crack on with now next? Yeah.
So I want to touch quickly. I did just mention it then, but the one that's really interested me out of the trailers, or two, I should say, the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, which at first it seemed like Falcon was going to take over as Captain America. Now it seems less that and more just him and Bucky kind of bonding more over that relationship, or over that part of the relationship that's missing for them both, and them finding each other, which I love. He seems like he's still going to carry on as the Falcon, as the character, because he's got like his wingsuit back in the trailer and he's doing a lot of action there.
Yeah.
And they make reference to the shield. I think there's a character called US Agent from the comics who I think they're using in this. Who is like the proper government sponsored. You know, this is the new modern Captain America, who's like, you know, the actual
the soulless facsimile who gets put in.
Yeah.
You know, looks the part, sounds the part. He's got a shield, but none of the soul, none of the
exactly. Yeah. And I'd quite like to see that, because one of the other questions me and you've spoke about multiple times is I'd love for either Bucky or Falcon to take over as Captain America, because obviously it's from the comics. It's if it's Falcon especially, you've got the diversity side of it of let's give a whole new group of people in society a chance to go, oh, you know, we can be Captain America. It's not just one look. The only thing is the superpower side of it, where Captain America is super strong, and the reason he can do all the stuff he can do with the shield is that he can take the punishment and the impacts of things. And no matter how strong Falcon is, because I mean Anthony Mackie is in pretty good shape, let's be honest, he's not going to be able to take a hit from the Hulk while holding the shield, for example. He'd just crumple. So
Steve can run rings around him literally when he's doing the circuits round. Is it the Washington Monument? Maybe?
Exactly.
I can't remember. Yeah. He keeps shouting like on your left or something every time he's running past him. Yeah, it is a good point, and it just makes me laugh. Like when he passes the shield to him. What does he pass the shield? I can't remember.
He does.
He basically passes it to him, and it's like, oh, is that how it works? Have you been authorized to, designate the next Captain America? I didn't know that was part of your contract. Like, does Nick know about this?
Well, that's the whole.
And it turns out like
that's the whole point of Civil War. He has his own contract now, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. I want to see the fine print. I want to see exactly what he's signing.
Yeah, exactly.
What he's allowed to do.
So I want to be Captain America. I want the shield, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of press responsibilities that I've not got ready for.
Can I have 10% of all action figures in a sort of Obi-Wan Kenobi original series sort of deal? Because that will be great. What a shrewd businessman that was. Yeah. That was a great play. That. Yeah. I mean, I don't. If I'm being honest, the storylines around the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I wouldn't even know where it could possibly go. They're not two of my sort of characters that I follow through the comics or anything like that.
Yeah.
Simply for the fact is there's so many characters, so I don't really know what they'd be taking on. But I really like the idea of a series going along without the big cosmic world-changing events. It could be not necessarily street level as such, but a little bit more grounded, a little bit more real.
Yeah. I think it.
As much as you can have when you've got a guy with a metal arm and another dude who's flying, but real.
Yeah, I think it will play a lot more like the Winter Soldier film, where it's like, oh, this feels like a Jason Bourne action thriller in the world of super beings and huge multinational organisations which are there to fight, god level monsters. You've also then got the soldiers and the spies, and like you say, not necessarily street level, but a lot more grounded action to enjoy, which is it's an intriguing prospect. And I'll be honest, character wise from the comics, I've not sat and read a ton of stories that are literally about Bucky / Winter Soldier or the Falcon. I've read events where they're both in there. Winter Soldier, I think, has only really been this version that we recognise now for the past 10, 15, maybe 20 years. I think it's Ed Brubaker's run, I think, who came up with it. I might be wrong about that, so internet be nice.
Don't quote you.
I'll hand my nerd card back in if I'm wrong. But yeah,
oh mate, I'm still under review with my nerd card. I've got it taken off me. I've been given a long list of things that I'm allowed to talk about, so hopefully they don't hear this pod, because that car will get ripped up.
But yeah, but I like both characters, and particularly I enjoy them in the comics when the bits that I've read with them in. But in particular, I love the cinematic versions. I think both Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie are great. They have great chemistry together. They have great chemistry with others. And again, this doesn't necessarily impact the film itself, at least directly. But both of those actors, when you watch them in press junkets and you watch them in just random things either together or apart, they both really understand what film they're in. And not that they don't take it seriously, because they take the film seriously. They commit and they act, but they enjoy it. They realise how fun and how amazing and there's that. It's that thing of if you told yourself as a child that you get to play, even if it's not Superman, Batman, Captain America themselves, like the big characters, when you grow up, you're going to get to basically make believe for a living and you're going to play superheroes in what is now the biggest thing ever, the biggest franchise in history of anything. It's like, yeah, sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, if anything.
It sounds
Well, it's
pretty
funny
good.
you mentioned that, like, unfortunately, you're going to be in these films, but you're not going to be playing like, you're not going to be your Superman, your Batman, your big hitters. But Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Iron Man was not the character that he is now. On the sort of the roster, the A list sort of heroes. Iron Man was not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas now, obviously, massively, like, if anything, he's overtaken some of the other characters. And it's funny to think of like the comic books, in your mind's eye of like, Iron Man is, one of the big draws. He's synonymous with the company.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, it's good that they're given their outing together, away from everything else. It could be the making of the characters, really, give them enough space to flap the wings, one of them. Well, not one wing, I meant one character, because he's got wings. I'll back this. I'll take it out in the edit. It's fine.
The other thing as well, again, and I feel like we're naturally wrapping up this particular one, but one thing that I love to see for this, I feel like Bucky didn't really get much of at least on screen, much time to really get closure with Steve, with Captain America as a character. He sort of, he comes back, he's good again, Cap's trying to save him, and then he gets sent off to Wakanda, and it's like, right, go heal and recover. Whereas Captain America and Falcon become best friends. Bucky almost was kept at arm's length, and it'd be nice for him to get a bit, like you say, even just screen time. Just, here's this character and this great actor, and like you say, room to really, sort of room to breathe and room to play with other characters and more story, which is always a good thing.
I mean, I personally loved the sort of PTSD that Tony Stark went through. Essentially before these events happen, they're just normal dudes, like, who then go through these incredible, like, life-changing, world-changing events, and they're on the front line of it. And it's like, how does the human psyche deal with that?
Yeah.
And you take someone like Bucky Barnes, who was a World War II soldier, captured, brainwashed, blah blah blah, becomes Winter Soldier, does all these horrendous things that are so contrary to who he was as a person, and then he's good again. But he's got all those demons inside him, and I feel like he needs that time to digest that and almost come to terms with and take responsibility for what he's done, and move forward. And surely that's going to play into the the TV show. Like, not necessarily, it won't be the forefront of what he's doing, but surely that even when he's come to terms with what he's done, those little things, those little triggers are still going to exist, I would assume, in his psyche still.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's going to be scars mentally as well as physically, that are there for a while. I know some people didn't necessarily like that sort of angle that they took with Tony Stark in the films, but I personally really liked it. I thought it was quite interesting to see within all this very human attribute, or not attribute, but human. It's vulnerability, basically, isn't it?
Side of him coming out. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you like your characters for their cool things, but you fall in love with the character because of their, how they deal with their flaws and their negatives.
Yeah.
Personally, and I think it was, some of the best sort of stuff can come out of it.
Yeah, exactly, and it grounds it in a level of reality. I mean, not to get too deep and political, but there's again a whole generations from the past 10, 20 years of veterans of war, or veterans of not even just war, but just crazy crises around the world. And again, it's we briefly mentioned diversity before. It's diversity of experience and of people's mental states, not just the physical makeup and how they look, but also what people go through, and again, like you say, how the human psyche deals with it. That really, really nicely segues into the one other bit I want to quickly mention from the MCU side, is the WandaVision series. I don't know how many of the trailers and teasers and reels you've watched for that one.
Again, it was one of those things where I saw the first snippet of it, and I saw the bit in the sort of 1950s house bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? On a purely aesthetic level, I'm really interested in what they've done there.
Yeah.
I'm in, and therefore I'm out. Don't want to see it anymore. I'm already paid up member. Got my,
Yeah.
Got
your ticket.
My voucher. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know I don't know where I was going. I've got something. I've got no idea.
Well, this is what's interesting with it. It's fairly obvious overall that the story is something to do with either a simulation or an alternate bubble reality, or there's something mystical or technological happening with Scarlet Witch, with Wanda. Vision's in there, so again, is the Vision alive again? Is it just has she created him, a bit like the House of M storyline? Is it a bit of both?
Well, you see, a lot of people don't realise the full extent of Wanda Maximoff's powers. She's a reality warping character from the comics. Didn't she create her own children at one point?
Yeah, she got rid of all the mutants by saying no more mutants. And then
no more mutants, and guys who were flying dropped out the sky. Characters who were inside an active volcano at a time.
Yeah,
they're not walking out of there alive.
Exactly.
Couple of kids at the Xavier School didn't fare too well with that.
But yeah, it's got this perfect blend of that, and there is a comic book series from the past few years, fairly recent, of the Vision trying to have this family life, and it's this blend of both of those things, the aesthetics of the Vision comic series with the implications, and it seems to suggest it's likely linked to the House of M style. Wanda's powers are altering reality, or has somebody manipulated her, into this dreamlike thing? There's a lot going on. The more recent trailers have played a little more into that, of some of the characters within that world almost glitching and almost for a second being like, oh my god, where am I, what, and then just going straight back into, oh hi, blah blah, and it looks really creepy. It looks really cool anyway. I don't have loads to say on it other than it looks really good, and like you say, I could have not watched any of these other teasers. Just from hearing about the concept and knowing what it was going to be about, I was in. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. This is a great way to play with the character.
Funny you mention the manipulation side of it, because obviously that's happened to her within the comics as well, so there's precedent to tie her character, but for me, just more Paul Bettany, just brilliant. Having him as his voice for so many years was like, he's great. And then when he took on the role of Vision, I was like, more of this guy. Yeah, definitely. I mentioned it many times before that I'm a big fan of his, and to see now that through the writing, directing, and obviously his portrayal of the character, it's like, he's in his own series now. So that he's done. I've got a couple of things that I want to mention. I don't want to make this into a 4-hour pod, but I don't know whether to go. Should I go dark or light for this next one? Your choice.
Go dark. Yeah. Let's go dark. Classic Lewis. Going dark. The Alien TV show. Yeah.
What are you feeling?
So
first of all, straight out the gate.
Yeah. So other than the screenshot you sent me of, basically the bringing the xenomorphs to Earth kind of thing. Other than that, I know nothing about it, and this is one where I'm really going to avoid as much info as possible because I love the Alien franchise. All 4 of the original films I actually have a love for. Right. Obviously, the first 2 are objectively the best of the series. The first Alien is hands down one of the best horror films ever, sci-fi, whatever, obviously. Aliens, great action film, the perfect way to evolve a franchise and take it in a different direction, but keep the core elements. And there's loads.
It's the Terminator and Terminator 2.
Exactly.
Sort of
yeah.
thing,
And Jim Cameron again, doing what he does best, knowing how to really up the ante and take it to a different level. And then Alien 3 and 4, again, I know there's tons of issues. We could do a whole podcast on that franchise, and we probably will at some point. But I absolutely love just the whole series, the whole concept of it, and TV series. Yeah, I'm in. Simple as that. I'm in.
Yeah, so I think I've got I made some notes when I was doing research, like the semi-professional I am. So there's a new comic book coming out as well next year. I don't know if it's going to tie directly into the TV series, but there is a new comic book film coming out. There's supposed to be a new Predator film coming out also next year, and it obviously the links between Predator and Alien came in Predator 2, I think it was, and then obviously there's the AVP films. Guys who are working on it he worked on Fargo.
Good series, very
Ridley
good series.
Scott, yeah, it's a very, very good series. And Ridley Scott is connected to it, but they're not quite sure on what level. I think people want him obviously to be executive producer on it. Just having him attached to it just really gives it that air of authenticity that you really want.
But similarly, keep him at arm's length. He comes out with some weird stuff these days. If somebody's got a good vision for it, let them take over.
I think what he will be able to bring to the show will be really, really good. There's a couple of things about it. So it wants to focus on humanity at its worst.
Right.
I've heard. So I'm not quite sure in what guise that will take. And then, how do you feel about the aliens being on Earth?
Yeah, so in Alien versus Predator, I'm assuming this will just do away with that canon, with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, from one bit that I did miss out, it's supposed to be set in a not so distant future, showing humanity at its worst.
Right.
On
Okay.
Earth.
So
I don't know. I mean,
it's a tough one.
It's
a tough one because for me, the space setting is key to part of the horror element of the Alien franchise, and then similarly when you're on an alien planet and you're dealing with an alien threat, even if the xenomorph isn't native to that planet, that again adds to the sort of the horror and the lore of it. So coming to Earth is a bit of a strange one, which I'm not necessarily against. I'm not opposed to it, purely on principle of that being an idea, but it's just what they do with that and how they handle it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I mean, Ripley, her whole motivation after the first film was, it wasn't necessarily a self-sacrifice straight away, but she was willing to go out there because she was like, I've seen these things close up. I know what they can do when there's just one of them. If these things get to Earth, like it's game over. And then eventually, spoiler, a franchise that started in like 1979. I'm going to spoil it for you. Ripley's self-sacrifice, to stop the xenomorphs getting to Earth, to have them then on Earth. I don't think it'll cheapen what Ripley did. It's just going to be. It's for me. I would have thought that you've gone down the most difficult route there, which isn't to say it's going to go bad. If they pull it off, having gone down the more difficult route, it's almost going to be a bigger celebration of getting it right because you didn't take the easy way. You went and did something that could have gone wrong. And then it's the whole timeline thing as well. When's it meant to be set? They're saying in the not so distant future, but I mean that's such an ambiguous term, isn't it?
Yeah, very vague.
The not so distant future. So I'm not going to put too much gravity on the not so distant future thing, but the Earth thing is the one that makes me kind of go, oh, right, okay, haven't we tried this before? But I mean, have you played the computer game, the most recent one?
No, Alien Isolation. No, I've got it. I want to stream it, twitch.tv/LewisAlexRyan. But
got you. See what I did? I just bounced that ball right over to you. Just served it and you just knocked it. You did it.
But but I've not yet. But it's one of those games, classic of big releases. When it first got released, some of the AI and some of the character physics and stuff in it didn't quite line up, and it was quite ambitious what it wanted to do. Since then, it's had a ton of patches, and obviously it's a few years old now, and now people love it. It's pretty much, I think, fairly universally
I've not
loved,
played it that much. But I've played it as, because you can play it as a xenomorph, can't you? And that was so
I didn't know that.
Cool. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the right game. It's definitely where you the main story is as you are as Marines or whatever.
That's I know what game you're talking about. There's an Alien Colonial Marines game from a few years ago. Yeah.
Oh right.
That's not the one I was going to talk about.
So I'm just sat here going, oh yeah, it's a great game. Talking about a completely different game. But I loved playing as a xenomorph. Yeah. Not because I'm an evil person who wants to kill, soldiers, but the idea of being able to, and it's a first person xenomorph, so I'm gonna be selfish and go in with another pick of mine.
Do it, go on.
Only because I like the juxtaposition between going as dark as Alien is, almost to the complete other side of it. Now, I talk about sleeper hits and things that you weren't expecting to be really good, or you weren't expecting anything from them. But Zootopia, or Zootropolis, depending on what title you watched it as. Do you like the movie, the first movie, anyway?
Yeah, I do. Very good.
I thought...
Summed it up what you just said, something you weren't necessarily expecting anything from, and it was very good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I watched it at a similar time to The Secret Life of Pets.
Right.
And having, as an adult, the first time I've had... a pet, basically. I've got a couple of little dogs. I was like, oh, I really want to see what they get up to in a sort of Toy Story-esque. When I'm not around, what do they do? And I really like The Secret Life of Pets, but when Zootopia, Zootropolis, whatever, came out, I was like, oh, this is something different here. The bit where she's travelling through the world, or the different parts of their Zootropolis, Zootopia, and how it all works, the different sized animals, the animals of different that need different environments to live. It was just that world building thing of like, oh, it's there. That we focused in on that, and all the information that I found out about the Zootopia Plus. I think it's just being advertised at the moment. I don't know if they're going to stick with that. Is everything that I wanted from the TV series. So it's not following the main characters from the film.
Yeah.
It's focusing on smaller characters. I think some of the characters they're focusing on is the dancing lions from round the Shakira character in the music videos.
Right, okay.
And then I think Flash as well from the I was going to say DVLA, but that's a British thing, from the car place
DMV
in the States. DMV, we got there, yeah. So, I mean, obviously Flash was a big hit as a character when he, the hilarity around, speedy work needing to be done, and it's being done by, a sloth. So I think he's going to be a main character in the series. It's going to follow a couple of different people within this world, which I thought was brilliant. It's like there's a whole world there, there's a whole plethora of characters that we can have a look at. Let's have a look at some other ones, see what's going on. But I think through the making, or the proposed making of Zootopia, Zootropolis Plus, whatever it is, there's now another conversation going of like, oh yeah, there's going to be a sequel movie. And I was like, yeah, sign me up, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's get this done, let's do it. I'll voice everyone, I'll do it.
That's one place where Disney and /or Pixar do tend to suffer a bit, is with sequels. Not necessarily financially, they seem to make enough money still, but critically sometimes they lose that little edge. I think with this, I think it's almost a bit of a win-win, because if it doesn't do that well, it's not one of their first ones that you think of. So it's not like you're gonna go, oh, you've ruined Toy Story, you've ruined, name your franchise, or name your series. But if it does do well, and there's almost more room for it to do well, because they're coming away from the main characters, like you say, and they're spending a bit more time in that world. If it does do well, then it looks like a genius move of, oh, here's something that did well financially. It might not be, our biggest hit or our main thing, but we've turned it again, like Iron Man in the MCU. We've turned it into one of our big
exactly
names.
What I was going to say.
Yeah. So it's
and I think the film, the original, came out in 2016, and animation, obviously, it comes on in leaps and bounds. It seems to jump, like the quality or the way that they do it seems to jump suddenly. But I have watched the film again recently, and it still looks really sharp, really good. So I think, like you said, if it does do well, I think people will actually go back and watch the original again, and I think it could almost get a second wind.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like not that many people really talking about it, but in the States it was the fourth highest grossing movie, not just animated, just movie of 2016. So maybe it just did a hell of a lot better in the States than it did.
I think
than it did over here.
I think what's sometimes deceiving with children's films or animated films, family films, is they look a lot better on paper from the money side, because say you're a parent and you want to take your child or children to a film, and then they bring their friends. That's 5 or 6 cinema tickets for one person who'd then be quite vocal, like our age, for example. So I think sometimes it's not a bad thing, but sometimes how well a successful a children's film or an animated film like that does sometimes deceives how well it actually does in terms of the zeitgeist or in terms of pop culture. So I think like you say, I think there'll be a bit of a second life if it does well, where it'll be more obvious, where it'll be more people our age and a bit older saying, oh, this is actually, I didn't actually see this the first time round, or, oh yeah, I've got nieces and nephews, or I've got children who love it, and now I've watched it, and actually, there's a lot to enjoy for classic Disney animated, feature. There's lots to enjoy for all ages. So
it's funny because I thought that's the route that, in a similar way, the route that they were going to go down with the Toy Story films. I thought, when Woody and Buzz and all them, I think it's the third one, go to the school and they meet all the the toys that are all, like the school toys. I thought at the end of that movie, our main characters that we've known for 3 films at this point would leave, and the cameras, essentially us the viewers, would stay at the school, and we would focus on these school characters instead, and it's almost like a nice way to pass the torch a little bit. Obviously they didn't do that. They came out with yet another brilliant film.
I've not watched it.
But you not watched the fourth one?
No, I've not watched it. No.
Oh.
I know.
Is it because you know you're going to cry?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I mean, I cried at the third one, but...
Oh, the incinerator scene?
Yeah, that was dark one. Speaking of dark. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, we thought the alien chat was going to be dark. We gone to Zootropolis, Zootopia, Rabbit Hole to Toy Story, burning toys.
It's a kids' film.
Yeah, it's a kids' film. So I mean, maybe it's the pessimist inside me, because I have to let him out sometimes, because it just gets really loud in here. It did get to a point where there was so much stuff coming out on this dump. Yeah. That was like, part of me started getting like a bit worried. Like, oh God, this is great. No, this is great. Oh, but so is this. And it's like, it can't all be good, can it? And I think, when you've been burnt so many times with stuff that you love, or stuff that you just, you're aware of in your zeitgeist, or stuff that you see the first snippet of it and you go, yeah, I'm in. So it not be what you want it to be, or it knows that it didn't get there through production or whatever. It's aware of its shortcomings, that you look at something like this and go, oh, it's all really good, but the pessimist always gets in and makes me worry about stuff.
You've been burned before, but it is a lot of positive.
We've all been burnt before, Lewis. Emotionally, physically.
I will say, not everything that has come out does look perfect, or does look like it's been handled the right way, should we say, in the release, in the teaser or the particular thing they've put out. But I think 99%, I'd argue all of what they've proposed sounds good on paper, even if not every teaser and every trailer and everything, looks perfect just yet, or has been communicated in the right way. And I think at this point, obviously there's a lot of question marks over Disney essentially owning the vast majority of pop culture in a cinematic sense these days. At the same time, they've handled it pretty well so far. I mean, the MCU, the worst of the Marvel films, is like a solid 5 or 6 out of 10. So, it's not as though, I mean, Hulk is the obvious one, and a lot of people saying Iron Man 2, even though I enjoy that. But even then.
Oh, I'm on board with all the Iron Man films. I think they're great.
Even the weaker of the MCU films are still pretty good. And Disney's main output, I know again there's been a bit of mixed reaction to the recent live action films, but in terms of their core animated stuff, the vast majority of that is well received and holds up. Even the older stuff holds up. So I trust them to steer the ship in the right direction. Really,
one little thing that did pop into my mind then when you mentioned the Hulk, the She-Hulk TV series. And let's not get into it because obviously we like we said, we can't talk about everything. But the She-Hulk series that's coming out, it's been confirmed that Mark Ruffalo will make the odd appearance in it, but also Tim Roth's coming into it as his as the
Abomination.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know whether or not that will actually make it into the into the final thing, but at the moment it's said that Tim Roth is reprising his role in that.
Wow, okay.
Which will be really interesting. I love Tim Roth. I think he's great. I mean, I love him from when he did the Tarantino stuff that he's done in the past. Like, I thought all those films are really cool, and Tim Roth especially in them. But yeah, I think the best way for me to summarize my feelings towards this is that on a lot of levels, it's been a bit of a shit year, 2020, and I think everyone is either feeling that a little bit or feeling it massively, and we have to take stock on things like this and go, it's not going to change the fact it's been a shit year, but this is some really exciting stuff that I get to watch, get to see coming over the horizon. I'm not going to say it's going to make up for the year, but it's nice to see these little things that that are coming, and it like I say, it's not going to change your year or make any bad things happening, but if it gets to put a smile on your face, and I think that is definitely worth it. So even though I was apprehensive about the amount of stuff that's come through, I just looking at it going, this is just what brilliant. This is what I need. This little pick me up.
Yeah, definitely, and like you say, it's a lot to look forward to for next year. Basically, obviously, cinema and films for the most part look due to change because of lockdowns. Regardless of how you feel about them, agree with them, all of that side of it, the reality is it is very likely that the cinema going experience, if there even will be one in the main, is going to change, and the way films are released will be different. And to be fair, it was already going that way anyway, with the likes of Disney Plus and services being made available. There was already a move towards online streaming, digital platforms releasing films. In the past few years, there's been some fairly big films even that have sort of played around with simultaneous on-demand releases and home releases at the same time as a limited cinema release at a limited theatre run. So it's whatever guise it comes in, at least there's still going to be content there to enjoy, which I know that word's a bit douchey, but do you know what I mean? There'll be stuff there for people to watch.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that that's the nail on the head there, and it really that this TV series dump that we've just all this information that we've got. It's the content is there, and it's just something to really look forward to. And if you don't like one of them, don't worry. Feels like there's 1,000 others that have come out that are coming out that you can invest in.
Yeah.
and hopefully discover a lot of new things or characters and stories that you kind of knew of maybe. And this is the opportunity to kind of jump, feet first into that world or those characters. Which I think it all sounds very, very positive stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, essentially, to summarise, what I would assume is both of our feelings on it, especially with the Star Wars stuff. Just do what you've done with Mandalorian, and we'll be all right. Just boil down the thing, the story that you're telling to the core elements of what made the original good, and regardless of where franchises have gone since then, get down to those core elements. Make sure that's right. Make sure it's a solid story with characters you enjoy, and have fun with it. And hopefully we'll get more along the lines of that.
Yeah, I mean, one of our plans is to, once the second season of Mandalorian wraps itself up, that we're going to do a Mandalorian-centric podcast about that. Anyone who's listened to us knows that just because we say a title doesn't mean we're going to stick on topic. We have no choice but to make our show about, the rabbit hole, the journey of where it takes us. The only reason I bring that up is because there's a lot of Star Wars shows and stuff that are coming out that no doubt, and I will definitely push towards talking more in depth when we do the Mandalorian sort of wrap up, because it all feeds and winds into each other and stuff.
Definitely,
so I think it'll be interesting to speculate on what's going to happen. Anything else you want to quickly mention? I just thought of something that I didn't actually bring up, but I kind of want to get it in the zeitgeist. I want to put it out there so I can take ownership and get some of that Disney money.
Go for it then. Go on.
So basically, the really like the Spider, Into the Spider-Verse, and there's talks of the Tobey Maguire, Garfield, Tom, multiverse sort of multiple Spider-Men. There's Dr. Octopus from the Tobey Maguire series of films. There's Electro from the Garfield films. I feel like we're getting the potential for an interdimensional Sinister Six within the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's, I mean, why not? Like, the Sinister Six are great sort of like pantomime sort of villains, but each of them is a heavy hitter in the Spider-Verse. So I think getting an interdimensional version of that going, that would be brilliant, and seeing some like alternate versions of these characters teaming up with each other. But stop me now, Lewis, because I'm going to go on another 45 minutes here of Spider-Man and Miles Morales and all this sort of malarkey. As when we were wrapping up as well.
No, but I'll just quickly say I'm the same. Cautious optimism with it, because obviously a lot of the reports, it's how many of them and how much of it do you believe, and when they say Alfred Molina's been cast as Dr. Octopus, like, do we know that? Is he going to voice an animated version? Is he going to be in live action? The same with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and all that. In whatever way they do it, it's definitely an interesting way to go, and as long as it's done well, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities, going right back to the start. Fantastic Four, interdimensional stuff. Doctor Strange sequel's called, is it the Multiverse of Madness? I think that's going to have all sorts of alternate realities. There's been loads of stuff we can do.
Yeah, I feel like some of this stuff that we want, and the way and possibly some of the only ways it could work and be folded into it, it's all on the edge. It's all kind of just there anyway, so it wouldn't be such a massive leap or such a massive build up to get them in.
Yeah.
But just want to end on that extra section of the rabbit hole there that we could have fallen down, but let's pull it back
down the rabbit hole and onto the spider's web.
Oh, yeah.
Any final words, Charlie?
Yeah, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
There we go. Bye.
Bye. Alright, that's the end of that.
Huge thank you to everybody who has watched or listened, and if you enjoy our podcast, hit follow, hit like, hit subscribe, whatever platform you are on. Rate us, review us, turn on notifications for our next episode, and you'll be really helping us to grow and keep building a great community. Get in touch with us on all the socials via @DRHpod, or you can reach out to us individually through @LewisAlexRyan and @_CharlieFallows.
Let's hope I've got something to edit.